I wanted to be at Texas State. I chose to be at Texas State. I'm from Texas. That was important to me. I always knew if the right guy got this job, you better watch out.
You better watch out. This is Win Now or Get Bent, episode 124. If you don't already know, I'm Kev Tardello, coming to you on Friday, September 8th. And we've got the Birds on Saturday. Texas State going down to San Antonio to face UTSA at the Alamo Dome. 2:30 p.m. kickoff, as all of you are well aware of. It's a big one. It's a doozy. We've got a doozy of an episode as well. I've got a nice little Baylor preview for you, and then we're going to jump into questions. Lots of questions. Appreciate the turnout there. I had a good feeling. I almost did it last week before the Baylor game, and I figured if we waited, we'd get a way bigger response, and we did. So we have a lot of questions. So I'm not going to waste too much time, but this episode is sponsored by TGC, the Galindo Collective, TGC LLC. TheGalindoCollective.com, Galindo, GalindoCollective.com, a team of professional consultants dedicated to helping others realize their business potential through people, planning, and practice. Their services cover a wide range of areas such as business strategy, marketing, human resources, and financial planning. They offer full-service solutions on general business evaluations, but specialize in residential and rental properties, commercial operations, and construction. If you own property and want to maximize its profitability, contact TGC at thegalindocollective.com and follow their social media platforms on Twitter at TGC LLC and the Galindo Collective on Instagram and Facebook. Shout out to my guy Rick Galindo, a true Tech State sicko, a Tech State grad. He sponsored us through the whole season. He got us to Media Day back in July. What a season he chose to jump on board. So thank you to Rick Galindo for supporting us and partnering with us through the season. Again, thegalindocollective.com. That's Galindo, GalindoCollective.com. And new sponsor alert. We are very happy to introduce our new partner, Balcones Roofing and Remodeling. Balcones, they are the most experienced F-Wave roofing contractor in Central Texas. F-Wave is a highly impact-resistant lifetime shingle with stunning designer curb appeal. It is the only roofing product on the market with an exclusive hail warranty. Now, a lot of these other shingles you get from these roofing companies, they're made from asphalt, not the F-Wave. The F-Wave, it's a stronger deal, so it can resist that hail. And we all know here in Texas, lots of hailstorms. We've had a lot here in San Marcos recently, and that's what they specialize in. They can give you the cheaper stuff as well, but they specialize in those F-Wave, and they are the most experienced ones at it, especially in this Austin area. They'll come down to San Marcos and help you out as well. I was just talking to Carl Larson over there at Balcones, and he was talking about how he's got a few houses he's working on down here in San Marcos. And if you get that F-Wave, you only have to deal with the remodel once. It's a lifetime deal. You won't have to switch out again and deal with the whole insurance a few years later when there's another hailstorm. You get it done once, you set it and forget it. But shout out to a new sicko, Carl Larson. Is originally from South Carolina. He is a disgruntled Gamecock fan. He is now jumping on the bandwagon with Texas State. Moved to Austin in 2019 on a whim in a camper on some land and started his own business. And now look at him. He's sponsoring pods and everything. So shout out to Carl Larson. He told me he's going to be at the game on Saturday, UTSA game. So he's really putting his money where his money where his mouth is, in more ways than one. Going to the game, sponsoring the pod. But check them out, BalconesRoofsAustin.com. That's Balcones, BALCONES. BalconesRoofsAustin.com. You can call them at 512-937-8804 and follow them on Twitter at Balcones Roofing. That's where I found him on Twitter. Go check him out on there. Seems to be loud and proud for the Bobcats, but excited for another sponsor. You know, hey, the Kinney effect, that ripple effect, it's reaching all the way over here as well. After that nice big Baylor win, I was a guest on quite a few number of pods this week. New sponsor, obviously. Great views on all of our stuff. It's been an incredible week. It's been quite a ride, but it gets really serious now. Now it's put up or shut up time. If what we saw last week, was that real? Is this the real team that we can expect for the rest of the season? Or is it going to fall flat like it has before, like last year after Texas State beat App State? They came and fell out flat the following week. So that's what I'm very interested to see from this team, especially this Saturday, an opponent that has been a thorn in the Bobcat side for a long time, UTSA. I'm sure all of you know the Bobcats are 0-4 all time versus UTSA. That is after having about a 100-year head start on a football program. UTSA incepts theirs, and they first beat the Bobcats in 2012, then 2017, 2018, and 2020. It's been a little bit of a layover until this next one, but it's an interesting time for both teams. UTSA has had a lot of success the past couple of years, specifically with Frank Harris at quarterback and Jeff Traylor at coach. Texas State went through a massive change, not just with the coaching staff, but with the administration, a new president, a new athletic director, a brand new team since 2020. I mean, there's probably just a handful of guys that were even playing in that game in 2020 that are still on the Bobcats now. It's a lot of changes happening. And obviously, we'll get into more of that. I was about to talk about UTSA's first game last week at Houston. I kind of wanted to, before I get into a preview, we'll do a little bit of a review. I meant to do it on the last one, but a little too excited about that victory. I like to do these reviews just to go look back at the history between the two programs. I went over it just a little bit earlier, though, in 4. But let's review those 4 losses for Texas State. I know a lot of you are very excited. I'll try to make this quick, and then we'll talk about modern-day Bobcats. But let's go to 2012. That was a 38-31 loss in San Antonio. UTSA controlled that one from the jump. I think there was a lot of hubris on Texas State's side. I know there was on this end of it. Being a fan of the Bobcats at the time, that was a year I wasn't covering them. It was in between University Star and professional coverage of Texas State. But I was there as a fan, and I witnessed that loss firsthand. I got to 17-14 at one point, but then UTSA just jumped back ahead again. Sean Rutherford, I can at least say some good things about Sean Rutherford. It's probably the best game a quarterback's had against UTSA. 31 for 42 for 324 yards and 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, 42 yards rushing and a score on 18 carries. So he had the ball a lot. I mean, that's 60 times just in his hand alone, 42 passes and then 18 carries. So they were really relying on Sean Rutherford in that game. And he played valiantly. Good for him. But that was a tough loss for sure. That was a very humbling moment for Texas State fans across the board. Second most humbling, I would say the most humbling was 2014 not getting a bowl game. That was pretty humbling after finishing 7-5. But 2017, 44-14 loss in San Marcos. We won't talk too much about that one. That was a big loss. Second season of the Everett Withers era. The first one, 2012, it's Dennis Franchione era. Now we're in the Everett Withers era in 2017. It's the Damian Williams year. Anybody remember him at quarterback? He's Dak Prescott's backup. I remember that was the big tagline for him, and that fell flat on its face. But he went 9 for 24 for 156 yards and a touchdown that game. At least no interceptions. The throws were so bad the other team couldn't even catch them, though, I guess. 9 for 24. Go to 2018. This is when it gets close. These last 2 are actually pretty close, and it's kind of why I wanted to talk about this review before we get into the preview. 2018, it was a 25-21 game in San Antonio. Texas State went down 14-0 early. I remember there was a really early fumble recovery for a touchdown, and they scored again on offense, and all of a sudden it was 14-0 before it was even halfway through the first quarter. And I was like, okay, here we go. It's a rehash of 2017. And then Vitt gets him back in the game. Tyler Vitt, he's from San Antonio himself. He had a really tough game. I remember he ran over a UTSA corner and literally broke his ankle. Ran through him, though. It wasn't like he juked him out and broke his ankle. Like, he ran through him, and the player literally broke his ankle. But he got them back into it. They were down 23-20 with 2 minutes left. They have the ball on the 2-yard line. And this is quintessential Everett Withers. Bobcats come out. They run a QB sneak, I guess just to get a little bit of a cushion from the goal line. QB sneak, stopped in the backfield, safety. UTSA wins 25-21. So there was a chance with 2 minutes left. It was going to have to be a long drive, but they only needed to get to a field goal. I think it was James Sherman was the kicker at that time. Pretty sure he could have made it if they got to about the 30 or so, or 25. The QB sneak, though, they thought it was a safe play, and it ended up being a very, very dangerous play that essentially ended the game, because then they had to just kick it back off to him, and then that was it. That game was done. Tyler Vitt, though, 15 for 22, 192 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a rushing touchdown. He actually played UTSA twice, because then he came back in 2020. Tyler Vitt back again in that 51-48 loss. This one is the toughest loss. That one I just mentioned, 25-21. That's a tough one, especially with the safety and having the ball with 2 minutes left. This one is especially painful. So if you don't know it, buckle up. But 51-48 in San Marcos. The score was 31-21 entering the fourth quarter. So it was already a high-scoring game entering the fourth. Then UTSA scores twice. Well, Texas State scores first with Brock Sturgis. Then UTSA scores 2 more times. And then Texas State scores 2 more times. The third score for Texas State in the fourth quarter is a 91-yard punt return by Jeremiah Haydell. Shout out Jeremiah Haydell. That's a fun name to think back on. That catch against SMU, man, that was the lock screen on my phone for probably a full year. But gets it all the way down to the end zone, scores, ties the game at 41, need an extra point, take a 1-point lead. Alan Arona misses it. Game goes to overtime. Frank Harris finds Joshua Cephas. UTSA scores. Vitt finds Barbie. Texas State scores. We go to the second overtime. Arona misses right on a 20-yard field goal. And I feel like we talk about the missed extra point a lot. We don't talk about that missed field goal as much too. That one's just as bad. I can remember at the time I was trying to help out Alan Arona by saying the laces were in on that missed extra point, but I mean, he missed 2 of those, so there's really no excuse. And then UTSA made it, and they won the game in double overtime, 51-48. It's a fun game. The result, less than ideal if you're on this side, but still a really fun game, especially that fourth quarter, 5 touchdowns combined. Vitt, though, 26 for 40, 346 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 interceptions in that game. But if you look at those last 2 games, 2018 and 2020, that is a 7-point difference combined. It's a 3-point loss in 2020, and it's a 4-point loss in 2018. That's a 7-point difference in 2 games. Now, if you listen to UTSA fans or anybody around the UTSA program, or even Coach Traylor and some of the tongue-in-cheek things he says, like it's a big game for them and things like that, you would think it's a 70-point difference that this team has just absolutely destroyed the Bobcats the last 2 years. They destroyed them in 2017. Otherwise, 3 out of the 4 games are a 1-score game. Now, I'll give you 2012. It became a 1-score game after a touchdown within 2 minutes, So I'll hear that. I think it was Brandon Smith who even scored it. Shout out Brandon Smith. He might still hold kickoff records for Texas State. But those are still 3 really close games, specifically the last 2. Even 2020, that's Jeff Traylor, same coach for UTSA as it is now. 2020, it was Jake Spavital for the Bobcats. It's 3 different coaches in this time. I mentioned 2012, Dennis Franchione, 17 and 18, that's Everett Withers. And 2020, that's Spavital. G.J. Kinney was the first coach out of all those coaches also lost to P5 programs, Franchione, Withers, and Spavital. Kinney has not. Kinney came out and he beat a P5 right off the bat. Can he be the first one to beat UTSA as well? We shall see. I do know, throw at everything you know about this team completely. I've watched that recap of Texas State Baylor 3 times this week. Just, one time was for research. I think the other 2 times were just out of enjoyment. Had put the mute button on, the baby wakes up in the middle of the night. It's like, I can catch a little bit of this, maybe something I missed. Let me see some of those packages on defense. But throw it away. Throw it away. The way this team was last year under Spavital, under Withers, under any of those other times they played UTSA, this is a different brand of football with a different caliber of athlete. You watch that game and you watch an offensive line that bullies the Baylor front 7. Nash Jones is throwing dudes around. Dorian Strawn's throwing dudes around. I meant to get a better look at Caleb Johnson at center. I honestly didn't even look at those snaps or anything as much as I should have. I'll keep an eye on it this Saturday. But they were throwing a front seven around that last year bullied the Bobcats. It was a complete 2022, that 42-7 loss to Baylor. It's a different deal. Their front seven was in control of that game. They did not control the line of scrimmage this game. I didn't see them control the line of scrimmage on either sides of the ball. I mean, even defensively, 10 tackles for a loss. What was it, 3 sacks? That they were in the backfield a lot. And it was pretty feast or famine, where it's either a sack or an explosive play, it seems. Not, that's being very generic with it. Obviously, there's a lot in the middle, but it seems that that's the way how it goes. They either get to the quarterback or something big is going to happen, like that Drake Dabney, the tight end for them, is going to get a 53-yarder. That being said, they controlled the line of scrimmage. The defensive line for Texas State took on that offensive line for Baylor, and they hung in there. I feel like the offensive line for the Bobcats had a better day than the defensive line, but both had solid days. There's an issue on defense. It was with the DBs. It wasn't a huge issue. I talked about it a little bit on the last episode. And Packy even said as much in a press conference this week. If there was something to clean up, it's some of the coverages. He's really, really impressed with the front seven, specifically stopping the run. So this is a brand new team. The way they could rotate on the defensive line, basically three whole units on the defensive line. I hadn't seen that here before. They're deep at pretty much every position. And it's just different. And so when people look at Texas State and they think about the Bobcats in recent history, in recent memory, and you would think they don't compare to UTSA, but they do. Now they do. When you look at this team comparably, they're way closer than it's ever been. At least when I say ever been, way closer than it's been in recent history. I would say 2012 they were pretty close. They were very much outmatched in 2017. Josiah Tauefa. I still know how to say that guy's name because that 2017 game, that linebacker with the flowing hair out of his helmet. But so there's they have a lot of bragging points. UTSA does over Texas State the last few years. But it's a brand new season. It's 2023. Do your homework, as Caleb Ford Dement said. Shout out to him. If you saw the recap we put out, shout out to Zach Webb on that one, the Wizard. Go check it out on our YouTube channel. Very proud of that one. That's a really cool one. It's a completely new team. It's a completely new squad. And when you listen to Jeff Traylor's press conference, you can tell he recognizes that. Even when he has some tongue-in-cheek things, like he said, I hear they're taking back Texas. When he says things like that, you can still see a little bit behind the what he's trying to hide it a little bit, but you can still see that he understands they're coming. He knows GJ Kinney's coming. He knows what GJ Kinney's capable of. He saw what he did at Incarnate Word. And there's a lot being made too from UTSA fans about this is basically just Incarnate Word. These Incarnate Word offensive linemen is what I've seen. Nash Jones could have gone to Baylor. He said God told him to go to Texas State. He wanted to follow Jordan Shoemaker and play in this offense under GJ Kinney. That's a real deal player. He was on Bruce Feldman's freak list for a reason. Incarnate Word, Texas State, wherever he plays. So I think they're really underestimating the Bobcats. But you can't underestimate UTSA. I believe right now, I'm going to pull it up right now because it keeps changing. I'm going to look up the odds for the Texas State UTSA game. By the time you're hearing this, it might change again because I saw it go back up. The first one I'm seeing right here is 13. I saw one earlier. It was 13.5, still favoring UTSA. It dropped down to as close as 10, I believe, earlier this week. It seems a lot of people are putting in more bets, and that's changing that line. But they deserve that line. A lot of people are saying, look, Texas State, they just beat Baylor. They should be favored by more. No, UTSA, this is still a good program. Even though they lost to Houston, this is still a Jeff Traylor coach team. This is still Frank Harris at quarterback. He did struggle for sure. I know I was looking at his numbers earlier. Frank Harris, Yeah, that's a tough game. 18 for 36, 209 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 interceptions against Houston for Frank Harris. If you're trying to rely on him doing that again, you may be waiting in vain because he doesn't have bad games like that often. And I won't step on it too much because I know somebody asked the question about that, on what that was about. But I think he dealt with a lot in the offseason. So that first game, there was a little bit there, but there's also some weapons missing. We'll get to that. I won't step on that too much. But this is where I'm trying to get at talking about Frank Harris. This is still a really good team. I don't think they're as strong as they were in 2021 or 2022. They've had a lot of guys go to the NFL. They've had some leave for Ole Miss. Zachary Franklin, really good receiver. So I don't think that it's as strong as it was. So there, UTSA is a little weakened. Texas State is strengthened. I think that it's going to even that playing field a little bit more. I've said it before. I said it when I was talking about what is Texas State's record going to be this season. I said 6-6, and that was even me trying to be cautious when this was before I saw what I saw against Baylor. And even then, I had Texas State beating UTSA because I saw those two games, and I've been to all 4 of those last UTSA games in person. One as a fan, the last 3 as a reporter. I saw how close it was in 18. I saw I was even closer in 2020. And that's why I look at 0-4. I know the rivalry. I know how seriously people take it around here. The players, TJ Finley, brand new transfer. You know, he came from an SEC program. He doesn't know the ins and outs of Texas State. So I understand the players don't see it as that rivalry, but the people do. And you can see that in the ticket sales, how it's going to be basically a neutral site on Saturday at the Alamo Dome because so many Bobcats are buying games. Shout out to all the initiatives going out there. I know former player Thaddeus Watkins is getting a bus going. Shout out to Thad Watkins. More on Thad in a later episode. But they're getting buses going, trying to fill up students. $15 you can get on a bus and go to the game. Doesn't include the ticket. You can there's a bus for the loud crowd. They're able to raise some money for those fans. I know there's some fraternities getting buses together as well. There's fans just going to the game. I mentioned Balcones Roofing and Remodeling. Check them out. My guy Carl Larson over there, he's going to the game. People are showing up because they understand it's a rivalry. And that atmosphere, it's going to be loud in there, but it's going to be loud for both sides. It's going to be a good half and half mix because they're opening up that third level. They don't do that. Not for UTSA games. They don't do that a lot. I don't know if they've ever done that. Maybe they have. I know they had a big sellout when they played Houston a little ways back. But this is going to be a neutral site for the most part with these Texas State fans. And this is why this rivalry is good. The proximity of the two programs can allow for this. Who knows? Hey, when it's in San Marcos, maybe UTSA reciprocates. I mean, as long as it's a sellout, it's a full stadium. This rivalry will continue. If both schools are seeing sellouts, how can we pass up that money? So hopefully that continues. It doesn't go to the wayside of like TCU and SMU. How they're not doing it anymore. The Iron Skillet or Battle for the Skillet, whatever that one's called. It's no longer, and I hope that doesn't happen. I hope this one continues, unless Texas State loses. Then I hope they pay the buyout and we never have to see UTSA again. No, I'm just kidding. No, I really do. I think even if it is a loss, but I don't think it will be. Even with UTSA being favored, I just think there's more than just the two teams on there. There's a lot of history, and there's a lot of fans bent out of shape, tired of losing to UTSA, and they're going to show up and they're going to cheer their heads off, and it's going to create just a different atmosphere. This is a different team. It's going to be a crazier atmosphere. I'm anticipating a high scoring game, even though we saw 14 points from UTSA last week. I expect a higher scoring game. We mentioned the 2020 game earlier, 51-48. Might be something like that. I mean, we're talking about two old Texas high school boys and Jeff Traylor and GJ Kinney. Let's get a high school football score out there as well, like one of those. I'm anticipating that, even though Traylor, they've got a pretty good defense at UTSA. Texas State's got a really good offense, so I think this is going to make for a really interesting matchup. And just on the other side of that coin, where it looked like UTSA's offense took a step down. It seems like they're really missing Decorian Clark, which is one of their really good receivers. He's injured. I mentioned Zachary Franklin. He transferred to Ole Miss for his senior year. Those are two of Frank Harris's biggest weapons. He still has Joshua Cephas, somebody who has beaten the Bobcats. He may have beaten the Bobcats twice. I know he beat him in 2020. But so they still have, but that, I mean, even last week, I was just looking at Frank Harris, so bear with me while I pull this up again. I just want to see what their receivers did. Yeah, because Joshua Cephas had 9 catches, 123 yards, and a touchdown last week. All the other receivers combined had 9 catches. No one else had more than 3, and no one else had more than 20 yards. So it seems, basing it on the last game, they're short on weapons there. I know they've got a really good tight end, and Oscar Cardenas. Didn't seem like he had 1 catch for 10 yards, but that guy's still really good. So they're a good offense, but they're weakened a little bit this year. And I think that Texas State defense, while it did show some suspect things in pass coverage last week, sometimes some of the pass coverages weren't fully sound. I think it's still going to make for an interesting matchup for this defense that has been getting after the quarterback. They want to live in the backfield. They want to stop the running backs because UTSA is a good running back as well. I'll get to him more, Kavarian Barnes, because I know there's a lot of questions about players, but he had 100 something yards last week as well. So it's a really good matchup. It's a fun matchup, but I think it's gonna make for a high scoring game. I guess, I made a note here. UTSA, their corners this year were backups last year. And that was something that Texas State was able to take advantage of last week against Baylor. Could see them take advantage of that again with UTSA. They're really sound on defense, but I think they might be a little dicey at corner, and that's something that these Joey Hobart and some of these other good receivers. I'd love to see like Sean Shaw get out there. I think that's more questions. Trying to step on the questions, but. So I'm anticipating a Texas State win, high scoring game. If you want to score, how am I supposed to know? 44-41. That sounds like a good score. I think I went on a UNT pod and I said that, so we'll stick with that one. But I have the Bobcats and I expect it to be high scoring. Go ahead and bet on it, and you can yell at me if you lose it. But I think I have a really good. I had a good feeling before I saw what I saw last week. I was like, I have a good feeling just because of the implications and everything that goes into this game every time it happens, that it's finally going to swing Texas State's way, that pendulum's going to swing back. I don't see UTSA as a program that is 5 games better than Texas State. They're not a program that's 4 games better than Texas State. They've had some success the last couple of years, but they've still yet to win a bowl game. There's still a lot they haven't done. And, they're pretty brand new in the college football landscape still, 10, 11 years. And so they're not used to it. They haven't been sufficiently humbled, but, as soon as somebody pries trailer away and you don't have Frank Harris anymore, it's going to learn something. Looking forward to that pendulum swinging back. Another reminder, Jeff Traylor on the short list for Texas State coaches in 2016 before Everett Withers. Yeah. Interesting sliding doors moment if Jeff Traylor had gone to Texas State. Because we know Frank Harris visited Texas State. We've seen pictures of him in Texas State uniforms and all that good stuff. Weird alternate universe where Jeff Traylor and Frank Harris ended up as Bobcats. But there you go. UTSA, Texas State. I have the Bobcats taking it. I was so impressed with what I saw last week. It was only one showing of it. It was just a proof of concept. We haven't seen the fully realized concept. I think a win over UTSA, and we can confidently say this is a fully realized concept, and it's here to stay. Because UTSA, they have a week of film on the Bobcats now. They have a game. They have something to go off of. They even have a depth chart with a starting quarterback on it now. They know who the quarterback's going to be. It's TJ Finley. I didn't do much depth chart talk just because there's only really one difference. TJ Finley, starting quarterback. Why would he not be? Sunbelt Player of the Week, Offensive Player of the Week, 298 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, a rushing touchdown, that great touchdown on 4th and 3. So he's going to be their quarterback, no doubt about it. But that leans in the favor of UTSA knowing what to expect. Stopping him's another deal, because what I saw, I tried so hard to look for a bad ball by TJ Finley. He threw the ball 30 times, 8 of them were incompletions. I tried to look for one where I was like, that was a really bad throw. He shouldn't have done that, or he should have done this with the ball differently. And I couldn't find it. Overthrew some guys. He doesn't throw dangerous balls. And that's why, I had an episode where I talked, or maybe a couple episodes where I talked about how his strong arm, and I was told it was going against, I was saying good things about TJ Finley, and this was somebody who was trying to go against him, and they're a little bit on the inside, and they're trying to go against him. They were saying he forces throws, he's slow, he's a lumbering guy. Both of those things were wrong. I didn't see him force any throws, and I didn't see him lumber along. He's not the fastest guy ever. He's not world-class speed like Malik Hornsby or anything. But, a 16-yard touchdown, he's fast enough to get that touchdown against Baylor. That's fast enough for me. Even when I look at him in comparatively to like Lindsey Scott, now he was kind of a journeyman as well from Louisiana himself. Started LSU, now I think about it. Wow, those parallels are actually really, really close. And he didn't have anywhere near the type of success he had at Incarnate Word until he got to Incarnate Word under G.J. Kinney, playing in that system. I think it's the same thing for Finley. Finley had that world-class arm where it was good enough that he won the starting job at LSU as a true freshman, started 5 games. Didn't really work out so well there. He goes to Auburn, wins the starting job again at another SEC program. So this is a highly recruited guy. He's got the talent enough to win these competition battles at fall camp at these big programs. Just wasn't working out for whatever reason. A lot of pressure. The system just wasn't quite there. Who knows? Who knows what the extenuating circumstances were surrounding all of that? But I looking at what Kinney was able to do with Lindsey Scott last season, I think he's doing the same thing. And Mac Leftwich as well, too. I need to give Mac Leftwich, the offense coordinator, plenty of credit here. Plenty of credit, because that was the major difference in Incarnate Word last year, was Mac Leftwich was elevated offensive coordinator. We gotta give him his flowers for sure. Mac Leftwich is a very, very talented offensive coordinator. But I feel like they're doing what they did with Lindsey Scott and elevating his play and maximizing what he does right with the plays. I think they're doing the same deal with TJ Finley. And it's after the first week, it's yielding similar results. It's not 50 points a game, but 42 against Baylor is nothing to shake a stick at. But all right, that's already too long on the preview. Sorry, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it. Let's get to these questions. Let's do it. Here we go. Bang. I got them pulled up right away. It's a big response. It might be kind of a lightning round, but I'll make sure to spend sufficient amount of time on all of these. Thanks again, everybody. This one's from my guy, Number Cruncher, at @RTuncap. What's up, my guy, Russ? Russ over there. Hopefully I'm not doxing you. One of the few sickos I met. I met him before I was even with the Statesman, flying back from Tallahassee when the Bobcats played Florida State in 2015. I met him in the airport. He was wearing Tech State gear. So I had to come say hi. So what's up? What's up, my guy? With all the hype for this weekend's game and UTSA, he spelled it the way y'all like to spell it. I'm not reading it on the pod anymore. Come on. But with UTSA, you can keep sending it that way, though. Don't worry. I can filter it. And UTSA having a chip on their shoulder for last week's loss, what are the chances of the Bobcats thinking they've already won the game? This is a great question because it is absolutely worth talking about a hangover from after a win. I mentioned last year we saw it happen after App State. I've seen it happen before. Even you can go back to some other, it's hard to find some recent big wins. I don't know, 2016, Ohio, they went out and laid an egg after that game. So it has happened. But as I said earlier in talking about the preview, throw out everything you know about this team. It's a brand new team. I think everything we saw from them after the game, from TJ Finley, Joey Hobart, from the coaching staff, from what we saw from them on Tuesday from the press conferences, go check that out. I'll have a presser pod out as well with those soon, audio version only, but check it out on the Texas State Athletics YouTube channel. If you saw from them, they're not getting too high on themselves about it. They kept saying it, shocked the world, but not themselves. They weren't shocked. So that was that went as it should have gone in their minds. So that's one way for them to keep level. But I guess the question is, what are the chances of them thinking that they've already won? There's a good chance. There's some players on there that are looking at what Frank Harris did last week and, seeing what they did. And they're like, oh, we got these guys. Let's move on to the next week. But I just, I'm going to switch it around. I don't think the chances are very high that they're thinking that they've already won. Because what's the reason for it? Because of Baylor? UTSA has been really good the last couple of years. I think that players are going to take this opponent serious. They should. UTSA should be taken serious. They deserve respect. They deserve to be taken serious. They also deserve to be taken behind the woodshed. So what do you say, Bobcats? All right, Number Cruncher. Thanks, my guy. Hope you're well. Hope to see you soon this season for sure. This dude, 666-78666, he hyphened it, at Fletcher Barrick. What's up, my guy? Good, always good talking to you. I talk to you pretty often in the DMs. When are they putting in Chance Main? So Chance Main, they kind of hinted at it right after he signed. Brand new, didn't do any fall camp. His first practice was mock week, which is the week before game week. So he's got a lot of making up to do. He's got to get used to the system. So he was featured on the cover article of a Washington Post article about the Bobcats. I thought that was pretty cool. It was just Chance Main celebrating after the win, wearing number 40. So he's there. He just got here. So they're gonna move him in there slowly. And I'm pretty sure someone is gonna ask about Devin Wright as well. And just they're also. Why I bring up Devin Wright, it's second part to the Chance Main part. They're really deep at defensive end, which I think will plays more into the Devin Wright situation with that. But thank you, Fletcher. Appreciate you, man. Always good to hear from you. Next one we got Malik Hornsby, Heisman Trophy winner. Oh, 2024. Oh, at Hornsby Train is his Twitter handle. What's the chances the Bobcats finishing the season ranked? If so, does G.J. Kinney leave? Or does Texas State become the next G5 powerhouse? Chances of them finishing ranked, it has to be double-digit wins. It has to start this weekend. Have to beat UTSA if you want to beat some sound opponents to get in there and get ranked. The chances of it's hard for me to put a percentage or odds on it or anything after just 1 week. I'll be more confident after this weekend. We'll know who this team really is after this weekend. And even that, it's a small sample of a 12-game season, just 2 games. That'll be enough because 2 of their toughest opponents are the first 2 games. And if they come out of that 2-0, you better watch out. But yes, so if they end up ranked, does G.J. Kinney leave? That's up to Dr. Damphus and Don Coryell, the athletics director. President Dr. Damphus and athletics director Don Coryell. That's up to them and how much they're willing to spend. Because we know this. We know G.J. Kinney came here, not necessarily on a discount, but he accepted the same deal Jake Spavital had, $800K a year. Pretty much the same specs as the Spavital contract. Interesting. I mean, some of you remember my reporting back during the coaching change. Morris, the UNT coach, was offered the same deal, didn't like it because it was the same deal as Spav. Bobcats pivoted to G.J. Kinney. Morris goes to UNT. UNT's first game, they get crushed by Cal, 52-something. Offensive coordinator at Cal, Jake Spavital. Lots of dots to connect there. But that one is interesting. It's early, but it seems like the Bobcats picked right. But where I was going with that, long way to get to here, he's got a cheap contract, $800K. If you want to compare to like Jeff Traylor, I know he's in the millions, don't know exactly what he's making. So they're going to have to increase that by a lot. And he's worth it. You've seen the marketing that he brought after week 1. It's like I said earlier, the ripple effect has hit us over here. Merch sales are through the roof. Oh, I'm wearing the bucket hat again, everybody. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, when I get Vent on YouTube, check me out in the bucket hat. Had to bust it out again. I like the bucket hat. But it's been a ripple effect. So he's worth the cost. I hope they seem like they're aware of that. I would be less optimistic if it was the last regime. If they had hired G.J. Kinney as this success, I'd be like, oh, he's gone after a year. These Danfus, Don Coryell, I believe that they know it's what it takes, and it's gonna take some money. That's if he keeps the trend going that he did week 1, my man's gonna make himself a lot of money. He may already have, who knows? But yeah, Bobcats, get that checkbook ready. That's my advice to the administration. If this is going the way it seems, that's what it's going to take. And no one's going to fault you for it. It's going to, it's hard to write a big check, but no one will fault you for it. So yeah, I guess the question was, does Kinney leave or does Texas State become the next G5 powerhouse? And GJ Kinney, it's still so interesting because his window as a head coach is so short still. I mean, his first year as a head coach was just last year. So it's hard to say powerhouse or anything like that. But if it continues to go this way, they need to pay Kinney, and yeah, they can become a G5 powerhouse because this area is ready for it. Texas State, it has the infrastructure for it. It's got a big enough school. There's a few things that they've got to work out and get a little better, but for the most part, it's primed for it. It's ready to be a G5 power. But thank you, Malik Hornsby Trophy winner 2024. Here we go. We have a fake Don Coryell account. Donnie C at DONN 2 N's Coryell. What do you say to a UTSA graduate? There you guys go again, using the old not safe for work way to do it. Okay, here we go. What do you say to UTSA graduate? Oh, this is just a joke. Can I have a Big Mac with extra sauce and a large comb? You were trying to make fun of him for being dumb, and it looks like you have a grammar error. It's supposed to be a large cone, large cum. This question was dicier than I expected, Donnie C. We're gonna move on, but thanks for submitting. Thanks for doing all you do. I won't follow you because I'm not gonna fall for any fake reports coming out your way. But here we go. This is from my guy One Pack. I'm pulling up the DM so I don't see his handle. But here we go. He says, where is Sean Shaw, number 5, and Langston Anderson, number 88? Were they dressed out? Sean was. I didn't notice Anderson. I could go back and look at the participation list on the box score, see if he was out there. Also was wondering if Maine and Obi were also. Maine definitely was. Obi was for sure. They weren't in the two new guys. Obi got here at the beginning of fall camp. I think they're still kind of slowly moving Maine and Obi into the rotation. But I can see both those guys getting in the mix, especially they're both 1-year guys. Maine and Obi just have 1 year left. Not sure if we're doing a mailbag. Oh, yeah. No, I am. It's a good time on the question. Newest pod was the best one ever. Thanks. Appreciate that. It was a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I wasn't sure how good it was, but I'm glad. What a win. Once again, great stuff from you and the Wizard. Thanks for all you do. Oh, man. Yeah. All right. That was nice. I'm glad I read all that. Shout out to the Wizard. Wizard deserves a lot more credit. Go check out that recap on our YouTube channel if you missed it. He's also wondering about Devin Wright. I think Devin Wright, he was here in the spring, was even with the first unit in the spring, but I think he's just a victim to the depth of this defensive line right now. They're especially at defensive end, they're very, very deep. Saw Jordan Revels get the start. Saw Sam Latham on the other side get a sack in his first game as a Bobcat. Both of them looked really good. Ben Bell was playing in that third linebacker spot. He really wasn't getting on the line too much. They didn't do that third linebacker. I talked about it on the last pod, so I won't spend too much time on it. But yeah, that was interesting. I'll be fascinated to keep an eye on that for this game as well. But I think that's the deal with Maine, Obi, and Devin Wright. They're very deep at defensive end, and Maine and Obi are two brand new guys. I haven't heard of any injuries with Anderson, so I imagine he dressed out. But Sean Shaw did dress out. I will expect him to get in the mix because they talked about him a lot, so we'll see. But thank you for that. Appreciate that one pack. This one is from Myrtle Beach, Doug Peterson. At Big Korean Joe 32. All right. I like that. I like that. What's your number one pump up song to get you amped if you're playing in this game? It's easy. Texas. Big X the Plug. Is that the name? Is that the name of the rapper? Oh, I sound like such a dork over here. No, I think it's Big X the Plug. Texas. It's that song they were playing a lot in their social media posts when the guys would commit. It's a good song. I'm from Texas. Go play that one. That one for sure gets you hyped. That's gotta be the pregame one. It's gotta be the Take Back Texas anthem. You know. I know they posted those videos and that song ended up in my playlist. Appreciate you, Myrtle Beach, Doug Peterson. Way to hold down for the Bobcats, even though you're from Myrtle Beach. Could be a coastal guy. Chose the Bobcats. You and Balcones Roofing and Remodeling in South Carolina. I don't think Myrtle Beach, Doug Peterson's in South Carolina, but South Carolina adjacent. Still rooting for the Bobcats. We appreciate y'all. This is from Miguel Luna, the Luna Cowboy. Hey, what's up, Miguel? All right, yeah, I forgot you have a new account. What's up, Miguel? Let's see. I have a question now. Will you predict wins from here on out? Even if you think we might lose, I'd like to hear you predict a win, especially this week against Baylor. Oh, I guess this is from last week, but he quote tweeted it in the thread for this one. You know, I'm still. I said 6-6 in fall camp, and I'm going to stick with it until after this game. I can rework this schedule. Okay, you know what? Let me pull it up. What do we got? Because you got Baylor a win, UTSA a win. I mean, if we're basing it on mine, I have them 4-0 in non-conference, which is pretty fantastic. I got to see what they do. I can't put the cart before the horse. I have to see what they do against UTSA before I'm like, man, they're going 10-0 or 10-2. I can't do it yet. Can't do it yet. I am excited. Last week, proof of concept. This week, actual concept. So hold that one, Miguel. We'll save it. This one, appreciate the question, Miguel. This one is from at Baseball Nut 46. What's up, Baseball Nut, my guy, holding it down in Rockport. Should we start making a plan for a haircut when we make a bowl game? All right, next question. We're just gonna move right past it. Why do y'all want me to cut my hair? These are like rings on a oak tree. You know? Yeah, you want me to cut the hair for a UTSA win and a bowl game? And I believe I said that though. I did say UTSA and a bowl game, and I'll consider the haircut. You didn't say how much. Maybe I just cut off an inch. You don't know. But I think I need to hear what hairstyle y'all want me to cut it to. Are we talking buzz cut? Are we talking a mullet? Are we talking? I can't just do a normal high and tight fade or whatever. You know, that's not my style. But y'all give me the feedback. Well, if you wanted me to cut the hair, what do you want? A mohawk? I might be down for that one. That might be cool. Keep it the length it is now and then just spike it. That'd look awesome in the press box. Appreciate you, Baseball Nut. My guy Matthew Gonzalez here. What's up, Matthew? At Matthew G007. Any news on an indoor facility? I heard parts of the KTSW interview president at halftime. By the way, I got both Win Now or Get Bent shirts in my poll last week. Sickos picked one, wife picked the other. Shout out to the wife, getting you to buy two of them. Appreciate that, Matthew. Yeah, we put out that poll. You bought the Sicko shirts. If you haven't seen those, WNOGB.com. Go check that out. Get you a nice hat. Oh, look, I do have it right here. Bang, got that one too. This is the go-to for sure. Everyday one. But yeah, appreciate that, Matthew. Thanks for the segue for a plug. But any news on the indoor facility? The only news that I have, it's not much of news. I know they're not going to put it where the old practice field was because of Spring Lake for some reason. It's too close to the proximity to that. They can't have that indoor facility. I know it's in the works. You know, we do know that they are breaking ground with the End Zone Complex like next week, like September 16th. I believe that's coming up real soon. So it's probably one step at a time with all of that. But I do know that the indoor facility is incoming at some point. But I'll have to go back and listen to. Obviously I was at the game, so I didn't hear that interview on KTSW with Dr. Dampus. Maybe I need to have him on again and tell us all about everything that he's got cooking on in the back end. But appreciate that, Matthew. I'll get some more info there for sure. This one's from my guy Cam at Cam TXST. What's up, Cam? How you doing, my guy? Any players you were surprised didn't show up on the stat sheet last Saturday? I'll hang up and listen. Surprised. Oh man, there weren't too. Malik Hornsby. I thought I said it leading up to it for 2 weeks. I was like, they're gonna play 2 quarterbacks, and they didn't. Thanks. No one called me out on that. I appreciate that. You guys can call me out more. I have thick skin, but I was anticipating 2 quarterbacks and just saw one. TJ Finley played good enough that didn't need to see the backup. I know who was I thinking about on the defensive line that I expected to see. Obviously, Jason Gold was. We still don't know what the deal is with that. He not injured, but not at the game, not on the depth chart, not injured, but also still on the team. I don't know what's going on there. I'm trying to figure it out. Trying to flip over some rocks. I kind of talked about it on the last one, where they play it pretty close to the vest with a lot of this information, and that's one of them. A lot of guys got in there. So now, Sean Shaw at receiver, I expected to see some more, but they're pretty deep at receiver, and they were doing pretty well out there. Besides some Ashton Hawkins drops, the receivers had a real terrific game. But not terribly surprised at any omissions, really. The guys I thought were going to be out there like corner and safety were out there, and Sean Holton's interception was surprising. That was a nice addition on the stat sheet. I'm sorry, not the interception, the forced fumble. So he had the recovered fumble. He had the interception. He also had a recovered fumble. They didn't add it into the stat sheet right away. It came in after. So I guess you could say I was surprised about that. Not a great answer for you, Cam. Sorry, bud. I'll try harder next time. But thanks for submitting. This one's from my guy Logan at LoganBeast23, using the hashtag. Good looking, Logan. Hashtag WNOGB. Hi, Kev. Hi, Logan. Do you think it's safe for me to start looking at potential bowl game landing spots based on based on conference? And if so, which one would you want us to go to? Putting the cart before the horse a little bit, Logan, but that's okay. Let's get excited. Let's get fired up. I like the mentality that the bowl game is going to happen. So I'm trying to think of the 4 bowl games Sunbelt has. They have the New Orleans Bowl, Cure Bowl, the Myrtle Beach one, and then the Mobile, Alabama one. I think Cure Bowl is in Orlando, right? I think I have that right. So I think the 4 are New Orleans, Myrtle Beach, Orlando, Mobile. So in that order, those are the ones I want to go visit because I'm going to go cover. I'd love to go to the New Orleans Bowl. It's just at New Orleans. I think it'd be an awesome way to cap the season. Start out Sunbelt Media Day in New Orleans, end it with a bowl game in New Orleans. That would just be kind of fitting. No real desire to go to Orlando. I'm not a big Disney World fan or anything. And I'm not trying to crap on Mobile, Alabama. I hear it's actually a really nice place, good food and everything. So I'd like, I'm not particularly partial. I said New Orleans because I like New Orleans. I'll go to the Delaware Bowl. I don't care. I'll go to Alaska for a bowl game. Let's do it. Wherever it is, I will travel to, and I'll get it sponsored. How about that? But yeah, maybe put away. I'll tell you what. This is what you should do. Don't buy tickets for a specific bowl game because obviously we have no idea if they're making a bowl or what bowl game it would be. But maybe set aside some money. That's what you should do. That's how you prepare yourself for potential bowl. Is you put it in escrow, put a little bit of money to the side, and when it comes time, bam, you have the funds and you're ready to go. Appreciate that, Logan. Appreciate the questions from you as always. Got Landon Lynch here at Landon Lynch 4. Shout out to Landon, man. Appreciate your questions. Always seeing your questions. Feel like every time we do a mailbag. Kef, we are all Bobcat sickos, but you are undoubtedly the leader of the crowd, making it your career to keep all of us in the know and hoping your bet the sleeping giant wakes pays off. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. You humble me. I'm not trying to be a leader. I'm just a messenger. Just want to be the messenger of this deal. But it is fun. Bunch of rabid sickos. I do enjoy our little community we've built, huh? Yeah, wake that sleeping giant up, GJ. You know? Whatever you got to do. Get smelling salts. Put it under his big old nose. Let's get this thing going. But how did Saturday's win feel for you, and how close are we to waking the giant? Man, it felt, I feel like I let on a little bit last episode, but it just felt like 10 years of investing in something, and you finally show a little bit of semblance that it's trending upwards. It's like I invested in the Bobcats and the stocks went down and down, and I'd invest more, I'd double and triple down and go even further down, and I'd throw more in there and it'd keep going down. I'm like, I don't care. You know, it's coming. It's coming. That pendulum is going to swing back. And it feels like it is. It's one game, so I'm not fully investing my emotions and getting all of my hopes up that this is just the way it is at Texas State now after years of it not being like this. It's hard for me to imagine that it's just changed all of a sudden. I need a little bit more, but I do feel fantastic after that. Even it's Thursday. That game was on Saturday. I'm still, I said, I watched the replay 3 times this week. It was great. Those Baylor uniforms were ugly, weren't they? Those yellow. What were they thinking? But no, it's great. It's great. I feel great. Feel awesome. I that feeling will dissipate quickly if they lose on Saturday, though. And that's just in the back of my head the whole time. Since Saturday, it's like, yeah, but UTSA, got to get that one. Birds got to go down. The Birds they got to go down. So tired of their talking. Yap, yap, yap. All right. Thanks, Landon. Appreciate the kind words too, man. That was really cool. That was really cool for you to say. Hunter Schuler up next. What's up, Hunter? At Hunter Schuler. My guy Hunter over here. Updated win total estimate for the season. Like I said earlier, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, so I'm gonna stick with my 6-6. Not because I think this is still a 6-6 team, but just because I need to see a little bit more. I just didn't expect this offense the whole system with all these new players for it to catch on so quick. I thought it would take them a few games, and then we'd know what we were dealing with, but. Odds to make a bowl game, very high, very, very high, very high. I thought they could do it before I thought they'd beat Baylor. And they beat Baylor. So, yeah, very, very high for me, Hunter. What, if anything, should the Bobcats change for UTSA? I would say it's mainly defensively, and Packy talked about it, but it's really sharpening some of these coverages in defense. Like the front seven did great. Brian Holloway, I haven't talked about him at all, but all over the place, man. Doing awesome at linebacker. Texas State has had a long line of pretty terrific inside linebackers. And Holloway's right in there. I was wondering what it was going to look like with no Sione Tupo. But he's doing terrific. He was all over the place. But shoring up some of those coverages, it's man coverage, so it's a different deal than it was zone last year. So they've got to sharpen that up, because that was it. It's if they don't get a sack, it was pretty easy for Baylor to get a big play, even with Shapen banged up and not having a great game. We had an injured MCL. He was still able to find Dabney and some of these other guys. And at what point should Texas State start worrying about losing GJ Kinney if he beats UTSA? Yeah, get the checkbook out. We were talking about it earlier for these administrators. Get the checkbook out. If he beats UTSA, you don't have to pay him on Saturday, but you should start talking to his agent, though. You know, hey, how's it going? We want to keep you around before, who knows, is Baylor going to fire their coach after that that loss and everything, there might be some, we know he's a Texas guy, GJ Kinney. So appreciate you, Hunter. Hope you're doing well, man. It's from Robert Garcia at Robert Garcia the fourth. What's up, Robert? I know you're always holding it out there on the sicko streets. Love the cinematic recap. Hope y'all keep doing those. We plan on it. It's funny. We talked about it. We wanted to do something like that ever since we got the camera. It came out so much better than I expected it would. Not any doubt on Webb, but he's one man with a camera. He did all the shooting, did all the editing, did all of that. He shot that entire game, running back and forth on the sidelines. Worked like a dog that game. That was his first collegiate game working, and he turned out an incredible video. We definitely plan on doing those. I'm disappointed that we won't go on the road more for in conference. Maybe get a couple more sponsors. Maybe we will. But we're gonna have 4 games that we'll miss on those cinematic recaps. I like that Texas State also did one. We put out our fall camp one with that title cinematic recap in it. Mainly thinking this, especially after the App State game, there wasn't anything specifically like that, or if there was, I missed it. And we thought at the time, when Zach and I were talking about everything, that there should be something like that for here. So it's good. I like to think we made them step up their game a little bit by telling them, hey, this is what we're going to work on. This is what we're thinking about. And then they do it themselves as well. It's not a competition thing at all. They're the university. Their reach is far, far superior than ours. But I like that everyone's working harder. That's what it needs to be. Everyone needs to keep everyone sharp, because this program deserves this content. These fans do. These sickos do, no doubt. All right, anyways. Spent a lot of time talking about the recap. Thanks for talking about that, Robert. Here's his question. Who are the biggest threats this week besides Frank Harris? For UTSA, I mentioned Joshua Cephas at receiver. I'm blanking on his name, the running back. He just had 100 last week. Kavarian Barnes, I think that's his name. Barnes, his last name. Oscar Cardenas, the tight end. There's some free on offense. They still have Rashad Wisdom at safety. Do you remember that name at all? I can't believe he's still playing there. They've got some really good linebackers with Moore and Taylor. But Cephas, Barnes, Cardenas on offense. Those are the 3 names for sure to keep an eye on. And Rashad Wisdom, don't let him out of your sights. That's a pretty good player right there. Thank you, Robert. I'm going to start answering these questions fast because I'm already getting in over an hour, and I'm not trying to have the wizard spend all night editing this. But this one's from Alonzo at Runner XC8. Not a road runner. We've already clarified. We know Alonzo. You're on the good side. And he used the hashtag. Shout out to Alonzo. For any Texas State sport, which former coach or athlete do you most want to see come back in a bailiff-like role? Man, there's so many to choose from. The one right off the bat is like Karen Chisholm is who I'd think of, but she's already kind of doing that. She's at games all the time. She's still around. I saw Karen Chisholm at the spring game. Seen her pop up on a picture on social media. She was at the coaches show on Tuesday, so she's still around. I know they tried to work it out with Barrick Neely, and he's got another coaching thing going. That didn't work out in negotiations. I think number 1A on my list, he'd have to stop playing, but it's Paul Goldschmidt. Coming back as hitting coach or something in some sort of capacity, I think that would be incredible. It would be very, very cool to see him back. But there's a lot of good ones to choose from in that one. Let's have George Strait come teach music. How about that one? Can we do that? Is music a sport? No, I appreciate you, Alonzo. Good one there. This one's from Miguel. Miguel again. What's up, Miguel Luna at the Lunar Cowboy? I'm tired of hearing it was more of Baylor being bad rather than Texas State being good. Baylor defense was supposed to be the best part of their team. Should we expect to put up 40-plus points against UTSA defense? Is UTSA defense better or worse than Baylor? Hard for me to say if they're better or worse than Baylor. I was talking earlier where I expect this game to be a high-scoring game just because of all the implications, how these coaches are, everything that goes into it. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game, possibly on both sides. So I think that it's going to be a game where you are going to have to put up 40. You're going to have to put up a lot and get after them. But, people are going to say that about Texas State, that, Baylor just had a bad day. They underestimated you. They're thinking about Utah. So they're going to say that until they prove them wrong with a win the following week. And that's what they got to do. It's just up to the Bobcats to, if they want to keep this narrative going of everybody talking about how good they are, got to keep winning. Winning solves all. It's the name of the podcast, Win Now or Get Bent, for a reason. Winning will save you. But thank you, Miguel. Appreciate that. Powering through these again. This is my guy, Atomic Punk at JTSB87. What's up, Atomic Punk? Do the Road Birds have an advantage in any position, O-line, D-line, etc., or are the teams evenly matched? I would say more evenly matched than I thought before that Baylor game. Look, because the only place I would think is the lines. And like I was talking about, both lines against Baylor handled that P5 opponent really well. I think they're going to be much. I struggle to say they're better than, but for now I'm confident saying comparable, absolutely comparable, which they were outmatched in years prior playing the Road Birds. Coined by you, Atomic Punk. I'll never forget. Will we see Bo Krause this week? I don't know for sure. I'm not super confident. I know he wasn't practicing on Tuesday when I was out there. And that's what he's dealing with, a hamstring all fall camp. So that's why he was held out the Baylor game. So I don't expect it, but you never know. Hamstrings are interesting, where he might be feeling good on Saturday and he'll get out there. Thank you, Atomic Punk. Hope you're well, my guy. At Flint, the Rev SWT. What's up, the Rev? Flint, my guy. True sicko right there. Old school sicko, man. Frank Harris struggled last week. What was the cause? His injury rearing up? First game jitters? UH that good? Trailer drugged him since he flirted with going pro early? Follow-up, which Harris we seeing last week or last season? I think it's a combo of things. Combo of the first two things of I know has had a lot of injuries, and they propped back up in the spring where he had an infection in his knee, and he had a bunch of issues happen where he almost medically retired after the spring, but decided to come back. I think the jitters, not first game jitters, but maybe first game back from that injury jitters, because obviously this guy's played 7 years. He's played a lot of ball. He doesn't get the, oh man, I've never done this before jitters. He might have, I really hope I don't completely wreck my body jitters, and re-injure this situation. So I think that played into it. Frank Harris is a really terrific player. I don't think Trailer drugged him, and I don't necessarily think UH is that good. It was just the first game of the year. It seemed like it was a sloppy game for the most part. I mean, it's hard for me to say they're that good. They put up 17 points. Trailer definitely didn't drug him, because that would just that'd shoot him in the foot. Why would you? You don't want to drug your guy and lose the opening game. He wants to win that game too. But which Harris are we seeing last week or last season? Listen to me when I tell you this. Frank Harris understands the UTSA Texas State rivalry more than most. So I feel like he's going to bring it on Saturday. I do. Despite what we saw last week, 3 interceptions, wasn't playing that well, he's going to bring it. I think the Bobcats have the firepower to still compete, even if Frank Harris brings it, but he's going to bring it. He doesn't have the weapons like he did. I mentioned during Clark's out. Franklin's gone to Ole Miss. It's 2 of his biggest weapons besides Joshua Cephas. He had 3 big weapons. 2 of them are gone. So that's a key to success right there. Put like 3 guys on Cephas. Maybe not that many, but keep an eye on him. Number cruncher again, my guy. Hey, Kef. Hey, Russ. Before the season started, the season wins over-under was 3.5. How confident are you that we'll be over? I am so freaking confident, man. Well over. Maybe I don't want to get too cocky, but yeah, over. Mash it. 3.5. Do it. If they're still offering that bet, take it. Put the farm on it. Appreciate you. Number cruncher. My guy Russ over there. My guy Creme Brulee, what's up? How you doing? at creme brulee 10 on Twitter. What do you think is going to be? I love that video of you celebrating the Baylor win, by the way. Before I get to your question, I love that. Ran out of your whole house. What do you think is going to be the biggest challenge playing UTSA? Moving the ball against their defense, or our defense stopping their offense? It's a good question. I'm going to say our defense stopping their offense. Texas State's defense stopping UTSA's offense. You know, I think Texas State moves the ball really well, and they'll move the ball again. But having to stop Frank Harris is going to be a tall task. It's a task they can handle, but it's a tall task nonetheless. Thank you, creme brulee. Woo! We still got a good chunk more. Okay, we're doing lightning round, everybody. Okay, I'm really sorry if your questions are in this. We've got TechXMex at TechXMex. That's Tech TECH XMex. I like that name. That's kind of cool. What is the over/under that a QB other than TJ comes out for a play series? Ooh, over/under. How many? Are you asking how many plays they come out, or percentage that it happens? I'm gonna put it low. I'm gonna put it at like 25%. Is that okay? I know you asked for odds, but I'm gonna give you percentage. 25%. I think TJ Finley really separated himself. I think there's still some dangerous things Malik Hornsby can do in packages, though, so we might see that. But thank you for that one, TexXMex. This one is from my guy, Wide Shut Stunt. What's up, man? How you doing? Are we witnessing Texas State turn into UCF? That'd be nice. They're moving up in the world, aren't they? You know, it's interesting. If you look, real quick, if you look at South Florida and Central Florida, South Florida had some success in like 2008, around that time, and they got all big for their britches, didn't even want to schedule UCF, thought they were bigger than them. Like, look at us, here we go. Why would we even mess with Central Florida? 10 years later, completely flipped on its head. I like to think UTSA is our USF, huh? To go onto your UCF wide shut stunt. What do you think of that? Wide shut stunt? It could be, though. It could be. I like that comparison, especially with the South Florida thing and UTSA deal I just pointed out. But that was cool. I'm glad you brought that up. Adrian Garza. What's up, Adrian? A Garza 34. Who are UTSA's key players? I mentioned it earlier. Cephas, Cardenas, Rashad Wisdom. I think I listed 6 guys earlier. Those 6 guys for sure. Thank you, Adrian. Sorry, I'm powering through these. Ulysses Gonzalez at Truly Yuli, my guy Yuli. What's up, dude? Where's Bo Corrales? Injured hamstring. Should be back soon enough. Hopefully, we'll see. He's dealt with injuries his whole 7-year career. Thanks, Yuli. Tyler Owens at T Owens 84. Biggest win I've witnessed and knew we were always capable of it if we had the right guy. With that said, I don't think this game was a fluke. 1, is Baylor that bad? No. 2, do you think we finish with 8 or more wins this year playing like we did against Baylor? If they play like they did against Baylor and they beat UTSA, yes. 8 or more, yes. And I don't think Baylor was that bad. The quarterback injured is MCL, and I think that helped the Bobcats a lot more than we're letting on, but still. MR at MJR2456. Any update? Absent injured players, Sean Shaw, Jason Gold. We talked about that one, so I'm going to power through it. I'm sorry. At MRJR2456. You're my guy. We're gonna power through. What happened to Chance Main? We talked about that one earlier as well. That one is from Devin at Comply DM. I'm sure he'll get in the mix soon enough. But he's still just getting used to the system after showing up back for fall camp. We have at TXST189999949 instead of just 2. How does this win over Baylor positively impact the university moving forward? National recognition, future recruits, transfers, school revenue, all of those things you listed. You did it for me. National recognition, recruits, transfers, school revenue, podcasts covering the team, getting new sponsors. It's all great. You know, a rising tide raises all ships, and I'm ready to keep rising. Thank you for that. This is from Jason Lopez at JEN2013. After the big win against Baylor, do you think there will be a sellout crowd at the Alamo Dome? I do. It's already getting pretty close to that, too. It seems like they're starting to sell out. Maybe not fully sell out, but it's sold out on the G5 scale, where it'll be over 35,000. We'll say that. Is the ball finally starting to bounce our way? It feels like it. Got to get this win on Saturday. How is the line 12.5 in favor of UTSA? Previous years, what they've done, still have Frank Harris, Jeff Traylor there. Still have a lot of really good players. Just one game, that loss against Houston. They're still pretty good. Also, does UTSA defense look stronger than Baylor's? I wouldn't say so based on that one game, but it's hard to say. I'll have a better idea of that when I see him go up against the Bobcats. Oh, and I'm reluctant to even read this one. It's the last one. I can't believe it. He tricked me. Here's Seth Kyradello. It's a fake account. That's me. I'm not saying the at. Don't follow him. You're fine. I appreciate you making it. I can't follow you in good faith. But okay, here we go. With the win last week, how do you feel about the rest of non-conference play, and what do you predict for this Saturday? Harris had an off game against UH, so what do you expect from him this week? Non-conference play, I'll be able to have a better idea after I see what I see on Saturday. For Saturday, I can predict Saturday. I think Texas State's going to win. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, and I think there's going to be a lot of fans in the stands from both teams, and it's going to change that environment and make it more of a neutral environment. So if you're hearing this, show up to that game. Be loud, be proud, and tell the whole world, here's your name, Bobcat fans, okay? All right. Boom, into mailbag. I'm sorry, I have 2 minutes left on the card that I'm recording this on. That's why I powered through that. I didn't expect to go this long. But I appreciate all you sickos for tuning in there. Check out our Patreon, patreon.com/win-now-or-get-bent. $5 a month helps support the pod, and I keep pumping out articles on there. I'm a little behind on it this week, but I've got a really good one on TJ Finley coming out. By the time this pod is out, that should already be up. WNOGB.com for merch. Check that out. Get you a nice bucket hat. Get you a nice trucker hat there. Get you some shirts, nice mug. Appreciate everyone buying merch and subscribing to the Patreon. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are keeping this thing going. I know you have motivated us over here to the nth degree. That you're definitely going to see us next year. I can tell you that. If you want to advertise on this pod, like TGC, like Balcones Roofing and Remodeling, hit us up at WNOGBKEF@gmail.com. That's WNOGBKEFF@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, comment, rate on our video channels. Where was I? Oh, yeah. And our audio channels, Apple and Spotify. Like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. It helps us grow along with you listening the way you are. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at WinNowOrGetBent, on Instagram at WNOGB, and all our other platforms. Thanks again to TGC. Thanks again to Balcones Roofing and Remodeling. And thanks to Zach Webb, the Wizard, shooting that awesome recap. Y'all go check that out if you haven't. If you missed that, he did an excellent job on that. It's on our YouTube channel. Win Now or Get Bent on YouTube. Please subscribe to that YouTube channel. We're almost to monetization. We're like halfway as far as subscribers. We need 500. We're over 250 now, which is fantastic, but just need a few more. And thank you, sickos, for tuning in, supporting the pod. What a great week for the Bobcats. Let's see if next week will be an even better one, because this win we've talked about, this is one of the biggest wins in program history last week. This one would be right up there too. So it would be pretty cool to see back to back, but hope to see a lot of you in San Antonio. Reach out. If you're in San Antonio, I definitely want to come see you and shake your hand. But all right, sickos, win now or get bent.